Hello, my name is Julianne, and I just want to speak about habituation. So, I'm an astrologer. I study patterns, I study natural law. And natural law is ultimately the question of learned guilt versus natural guilt. And in studying that, we differentiate, use our own personal integrity, authority, and discernment to determine what our lessons are, each of us uniquely. Learned guilt is anything that has been imposed upon us as a framework of morality that is actually not authentic to the nature of our free inner being. And regardless of the storyline around that guilt, it is many of our life's work to see and unravel the ways that paradigm of guilt influences our every move. Now, I'll break that down in a moment, but I want to talk about what natural guilt is. Guilt as an archetype purely is not good or bad, just like nothing in the universe is purely good or bad. We impose the meaning upon every single thing we interact with. Thus, in the paradigm of natural law, natural guilt is the reflection of an experience where we actually learn from our actions. We feel naturally guilty when we behave in a certain way and that impacts someone that we love. We didn't recognize that, and we truly do not want to make them feel that way again, as an example. And thus we claim responsibility and we say, wow, I'm changed. I'm not gonna do that again, but I had to learn this way. Do you see the difference? Where learned guilt is likely from a young age, from our society, from our family, from our religion, from our education, where we are told that we are wrong or bad or unworthy when we show up in certain ways. This is across the board, every area of life. But in my experience so far in life, I think the most potential for healing of this phase in our lives of where we are unraveling our learned guilt is in the realm of human relationships, in the realm of sexuality, and in the realm of the freedom of our spirit. And that's because this idea of freedom across the board reflects that naturally each and every one of us is always present, always cared for, always provided for, and always has access to everything that we need. But we've taught ourselves as a result of being taught from young that we can't access it in the most easy way, that we have to do something else in order to get there. Usually for most people, this will show up more profoundly in one area of life than others. So just consider for yourself. And then consider for yourself where this idea of natural guilt has come and where you've actually learned a lot in your life based on experiences of taking responsibility for something that you might have felt guilty about. but how in fact that process is one of empowerment rather than continuing to push you down and to suppress your spirit and your individuality. Now, I started this video saying that I wanted to talk about habituation. And ultimately, it's funny because you might get to a point in your life, this is where I am right now, where I can see freedom everywhere. And thus I see choice everywhere. And thus I see how minutely and exactly every choice I make determines who I am, in a far more profound way than how the thoughts that I think determine who I am. The choices that I make, how I show up in the world, determines who I am. Now, of course, we can hold the reality that who I am is limitless and endless. And that's true for each person. But what you do regularly and how you treat yourself regularly is who you are. Which is also to say that we are never one thing, because even if we have the same habit and routine for 10 years, life is always changing around us, so we are also always changing. This point isn't to say we must get into the minutia of our every single action, but rather that we should let go and act on what is natural and authentic to us. Trusting that whatever experiences we might end up feeling guilty about are learnings, and that's it. Anywhere where we've been holding on to guilt for too long is learned guilt. It's not ours. It's reflecting and resonating a storyline very deep within us that we haven't let go yet, but it's still not ours. So where you're placing your attention, through your eyes, through your mouth, through your skin, and then how you allow the momentary sensation of that to change your being. That's habituation of self, and that is authentic engagement with the world that is not static. The irony is we find in our sometimes darting and chaotic restlessness of the mind, when we let it move and we follow it, that again the patterns emerge naturally, even if there seems to be a lack of linearity in ways that it might have existed before. So just a perspective I wanted to share. Goodbye for now.